What's up, guys? It is Matthew Murray, Nick Frumpkin, and guess who's back yet again? Chris Smith, or Christopher Smith as he calls himself on Zoom. Welcome back to the insurance panel, guys. We're happy you're here. For those that don't know, this is our 1,000 subscriber special. We actually, Nick and I talked about it, and we were like, man, maybe we should probably like make a push. And we were like 900 subscribers, like maybe a month ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
Like we should make a push, but we were super busy in the middle of AEP. And I kind of looked at it and I was like, man, we're kind of like just gaining a couple subscribers a day passively. It's really
Crazy.
weird. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And then I just looked up one day and I was like, oh, we hit 1,000. So it's super awesome.
As of this recording, we're at like 1,010.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Which is crazy because, you know, when we first started this thing, and for those that don't know, it's like late 2018 is kind of right
around now in 2018.
Yeah, right around now is like Nick and I, we were doing some stuff on a final expense group, and Nick was like, do you want to do a channel? I was like, hell yeah, dude. So we did it. We had a lofty goal of, you know, or a big goal of 1,000 subscribers, and at the time it seemed like we would never
gonna happen.
You know, we got 100 subscribers and we're like, this is insane.
Yeah. There's just not that many people that sell final expense, right?
Correct. It's wild, but for the very niche market that we have, 1,000 subscribers, I'm very happy with. Each one of you are awesome. I know about 40 to 50% of you consistently watch every time we upload. We actually have people reach out to Nick and I all the time saying like, when's the next video? And we're sorry, we're just really busy with AEP. So maybe we can kind of roll out what we thought about the series or the seasons, is what you called it, Nick?
Yeah. You're right. Break it up into seasons, like it's a TV show.
Yeah. Mid-season finale. That's why we're going.
Yeah, this is our holiday special. We were kind of wrapped for the year. We were going to come back in January, but we got a Thanksgiving 1,000 subscriber something more exciting than that special. Yeah, special. Yay!
Yeah, so
extravaganza. I like that word.
That's right.
Yeah. So
we brought back Chris to say hey to the folks.
Yeah,
Chris was
Chris is one of the early adopters. I don't know what the word is, adopters. He was one of the first people to record with us, and we absolutely loved it. And he stopped recording with us for a little bit, and he decided he wanted to join us on a couple of videos. So we're happy to have him on because his banter is just as good as Nick and I's, and he brings a lot of intelligence into the channel as well, and some really good key points. And he also brings a really nice mic. So
his equipment game is on point. He's got a better mic and probably a better camera than either of us.
I know. I actually figured out how to get that camera to work with this computer and record on this thing.
It's nice. You look very crisp.
Very crisp. So I look better than Dave Duford.
Oof.
Ooh.
He's got.
I think I like your background a little bit better. I like the clean white lines of the background.
Okay.
I don't know. I've always when I've watched YouTube videos, I kind of like when channels have like this ever-growing background, because you always don't want to see like three floating heads just talk about insurance. Like sometimes if you see a book or like a new picture that up, you always see that behind me, right? Or you always see something behind Nick. So if you see something new, like what the hell is that? It gets you to pay attention more to the video. So I kind of like Duford's setup in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Duford's setup. I think he's got one of the better channels on YouTube for final expense. I mean, he's been doing it longer than I think anybody. Has anybody had a channel as long as he has?
I don't think so. I think Doug Massey has.
He's been doing it a while too. Yeah,
he's been doing it for quite a while. And his is more some really, I don't know if it's in depth, but it kind of like real training. I would say.
He does bite-sized trainings that show up on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And his trick is just he's got a white wall and a Cognito light, and that's why it looks kind of funny and fancy. But it's really just the Cognito light and the back white wall.
Yep. And what I will say Dave Duford does really, really well is some very good titles and or clickbait things that make you want to watch. Yeah, make you want to watch what's going on. Like, what did Lincoln Heritage do this time? And you're like, oh boy, I gotta click on that one. So it's really good stuff. And we're actually friends with all of those people. We were actually,
Yeah.
all three of us were actually guests on Dave Dufort's channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch that. So,
He was a big supporter of this channel when we were getting started.
and Dave, if you're watching this, we would love to have you on. Now that we've, gotten to 1,000 subscribers, we would love to have you on our channel.
We're like a legitimate channel now.
Like a legitimate channel. We can run ads. We're not going to run ads.
We're
but
not
we
gonna,
can.
but we could.
We could.
So this is a crazy thing. So YouTube, did you guys read the new terms of service for YouTube when the terms of service came out? So YouTube actually has now reserved the right to run ads on our channel, not just us, but like everybody's. Like even if you're not a monetized channel, if they decide that they want to monetize you, they will run ads on your channel, and they won't pay you. They'll just start running ads before your show, and they've built that into the terms of service, which is crazy. I guess only pre-roll ads. I guess they're not going to do like in video ads, but
Yeah.
still.
What if we're too controversial? Will they suppress us and like
Probably,
demonetize
yes.
the non-monetized channel?
I don't know. They might de-algorithmize us. I don't know. I don't know how much we're high up in YouTube's algorithms anyway, but
I feel like Transamerica has been de-algorithmized.
it's hard to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, did anybody watch on Facebook where someone said they got their Transamerica cup and they filled it up with coffee and it started leaking out the bottom?
That's my man, Don Miller. It was hilarious.
Yeah. Dude.
Amazing.
Someone said something funny like, you need to send it back for an amendment or something like that. And I thought that was a hilarious comment on Facebook.
My
So
cup got stuck in pending business. It never got issued.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I was actually talking to Chris and maybe Nick about this. I talked to both of you, like the new meta on Facebook is not having the biggest and like the best post. It's the best comment on a post that shows up first.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So like what I'll try to do is say like the wittiest comment or like the first comment that's enough, that gets enough likes. So whenever someone's scrolling through, they see the post and then they see my comment that's like witty and funny or something like that. That actually gains almost more traction than actually making the post itself.
Yeah.
So just for those that are watching, be really good on your banter on making good comments. Like Nick put one the other day and it was like 20 thumbs up and it actually pointed to this channel. So, hey, new people that are watching the channel, we're glad you're here. This is what we
like
talk about, random stuff.
Is it like my comment, #YGI?
Yeah. That's actually gaining more traction than I would like it to.
I was really hoping I had an extra day before Nashville and I could have bought like a bunch of #YGI shirts. But I went to the mall and like the print your shirt store was closed. I'm like, no.
Yeah. But yeah, why GI guys? I mean, what is the percentage, Chris? You said like 6% or like 8% should really go GI.
I don't even like think to set up new agents with a GI company at this point. So, I mean, maybe it's less than 10%. Fair enough.
There's
of course,
there's a not insignificant a number of major producers who just refuse GI.
Mm-hmm.
If they just walk away.
I think I can't remember the last time like I've wanted to write GI or like even consider writing GI because I was like, there's just other options. I mean, GTL, we talked about that on the channel recently. There's new graded options, 3070s, and not new, those aren't new graded, but there's new carriers that have graded options that might be better than just a typical, ROP or a GI case. I mean,
Prosperity's got a graded policy that takes a ton of stuff, and it's real graded.
Yep.
Like.
And Nick, you talked about this at one point going back to GI. You almost suggested instead of like getting this huge gambit of carriers, get like 3, but then take one of them and just write it for like 6 months and learn the ever living crap out of that carrier and start realizing like, okay, why are those cases going modified? Okay, they're going modified because of COPD or diabetic neuropathy. I need to find a carrier that takes those 2 things. And then you can start learning a new carrier instead of just going, all right, I've got all the carriers in the world and I have no idea what I'm doing. And this is my first time writing a Sentinel case because I learned one time on Facebook that Sentinel takes COPD with oxygen graded. And so I needed to pick it up.
Oh God, no.
What
a clueless company. Sorry.
Yeah. they sort of take that. But yeah, I am a huge believer in limiting the number of carriers that you have, especially when you're new, but kind of all the time also. Like, as I have gotten better at this, I have been finding that more and more I write all my business with like 2, maybe 3 carriers.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have the occasional weird one-offs. You know, when I look at my business, and I do track this stuff. I have an Excel spreadsheet that pivots into formulas that pops up little bar charts of it. I know it's very fancy. I didn't make it myself. Somebody gave it to me. But like, I can look and I can see, you know, 80% of my business is split between 2 carriers.
Mm-hmm.
And one is a carrier that takes COPD level, and one is a carrier that takes insulin with neuropathy level and takes direct express cards. And 80% of my business is between those 2 carriers. And then the other 20% of my business is spread out amongst another 5 or 6. And they're all weird one-off, like, hey, I needed a thing, you know? Mm-hmm. And I'm appointed with, like, if anybody ever wants to bother to go pull up my appointment list, like, I'm appointed with far too many people. Like, right. I'm appointed with like 40 carriers. It's ridiculous.
Remember when someone did that and said I was only appointed in the business for a year, but they pulled up the Georgia non-resident?
Yes, I do remember that. I remember exactly who did that also. Although
where is that guy nowadays?
I never go into that Facebook group anymore. I don't know if that's has anybody ever gone into the insurance circus recently?
I think he's gone. Is he
gone?
No, it's not gone. It's still there. It's independent insurance agents, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, he's gone. I think someone took his phone away.
Oh yeah.
I think we're about to terminate you like the last guy in charge of an agency here. So just give us your phone.
Yeah. But again, going back to your point, Nick, I mean, the reason that you write those amounts is because you really don't need to, but you also get to take a couple trips a year because of it.
Oh yeah.
Which is, we're I guess we're talking about everything we ever talked about on the channel up to this point, but you go on many trips because of it.
Yeah, I do. I mean, and trips that I pay for myself also because of it. Like there are benefits aside from carrier trips, although carrier trips are great. Carrier trips don't exist at the moment. I don't know. I have qualified. I have qualified decidedly at the middle tier on a carrier trip to Ireland coming up, and I'm probably going to hit the top tier level. But I don't know how hard I'm going to push for it because I feel like there's like 50-50 chance that the trip to Ireland's not even going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only about like $5,000 away from hitting the top tier level. But hopefully trips happen again. I had 3 that got canceled on me this year. That I was supposed to go on a trip with Liberty Bankers and a trip with Family Benefit and a trip with KSKJ, and all 3 of them didn't end up happening.
Do they send you anything? Did they send you anything?
Yes. Yeah, they all sent me cash.
Good.
I got AmAm money. That was nice.
AmAm money.
I would have much rather been in Greece for my birthday, but I'll take the money.
Right? Yeah, cash is okay.
Yeah. The other reason it's good to only get a few carriers is if you ever need to move to a different shop, you're not tied down.
Also true. Because there's a lot of competitive carriers out there.
Mm-hmm.
I had a company recently terminate me for lack of production.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really concerned because I wasn't writing them, know.
But you don't want to get into a situation where you join an IMO and they literally say, we're going to give you all the carriers.
Right. Well, and a lot of IMOs will do that, and they'll you join and they sign you up with like 20 different carriers, and then you leave and they don't give you a release.
Mm-hmm.
And then
you gotta wait 6 months.
Or
just go find a random carrier that you would never really want to write and just have to hobble along for 6 months.
Right.
It helps to be creative.
It does help to be creative.
Yeah.
It does help. Yeah.
You learn a new product pretty quick,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know.
I
But
spent 6 months writing Prosperity and three little fraternal that I won't mention publicly, and learned them pretty well just because that was all that I could write. A little bit of family benefit mixed in there, and it just keeps things interesting.
sure.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's good to have multiple carriers to place multiple business. That's why it's good to be independent. However, do not get all the carriers and have no idea what you're doing with them. Take
Yeah,
Nick's
well,
advice.
and it makes it harder to get started, right?
Mhm.
You know, it's when you're new, it's so easy to fall into that I don't know what to do here situation.
Mhm.
You know, and if you just have one carrier, like somebody posted on Facebook, like does a carrier take multiple sclerosis, hep C, something
Mhm.
like that? I don't remember what it was they were asking about, but somebody recently posted, you know, does this carrier take this? And with final expense, the answer is read the application. You know, if the application doesn't ask about that thing, then the carrier takes that thing. Like somebody asked about fibromyalgia. Like, can I get first day coverage for somebody with fibromyalgia? Yes, everywhere.
All the above.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Pick your favorite company. You write them with fibromyalgia. They're all good.
Sometimes
What
I
is
like
it?
to reply like, does they take this? No. Do they take this? Yes.
Right. Right. It's
All
a
of them
very
take-
black and white situation. And it's very easy if you only have one carrier that you're writing to figure that out.
Correct.
You know, if you're going into every house and you're like, hey, I'm only going to write Transamerica. We've already mentioned them. Right. But you're only going to write Transamerica. You will very quickly find what Transamerica does and does not take. You read the application. You say, hey, I'm going to find out if this carrier works for you. You read them the application questions. If they say no to all of them, Transamerica takes it.
Yep. What was the acronym that JD said? RTFA.
Yeah.
Right.
RTFA.
Yeah.
Read the app.
Read the app, and you can fill in the F there. Yeah, basically it's black and white. You know, final expense. That's what I was telling a story online. Like, what was the first application that you ever wrote? And I was working with the 16th dead president's heritage, for those that are history buffs, right? And I had no idea what I was doing. And I knocked on the first door. It was like it was like a door knock, but it was like, I thought it was a lead. It was a list, a walk list, a mailer list, right? And I knocked on the door, and the lady was like, what do you want? I was like, you filled out a card and you want some insurance. And she was like, I didn't fill out the card. I'm like, I got a list of names and you're number one. So you definitely did it. So I got to talk to you. And she was like, all right, look, come on in. And I sat down with her and I was like, hey, I don't know much. I just got my license. I'm super excited to do this. What I do know is, based on your age, and if you smoke, I can run a rate. And if you say no to all these questions, I can get you exactly $11,372 worth of insurance for $50. And she was like, sounds good to me. I was like, that's crazy. And she wrote me a check before I even filled out the application because she was that excited about it. But I knew from the first day, if they answered no to all these questions,
They get approved.
then you're going to get approved and legally, and then you go through the health assessment, blah, blah, blah. But if you tell me truthfully all these things and they are true, you're going to get approved. That's what I know. And you can sell based on that alone. You shouldn't base all your applications on that. You should do a little bit more than that, but that's it. It's black and white.
Yeah.
So
It's very easy. And I mean, and that's why I appreciate some of the underwriting tools that are out there now. You know, some of the stuff like the software systems, and there's several of them now. We did a whole thing on when Best Plan Pro came out. But they're not the only one. There's a bunch of them these days where you can plug in people's information and it'll tell you what plans will take that person. But unless you've already been stumped, unless your primary carrier is already not going to take that person for some reason, you shouldn't be using those things, because they're going to hinder your development. I remember, you can go back and watch the video that Chris and I did from the baseball game, where I remember Chris, in the middle of a baseball game, took a phone call from an agent, which was somewhat impressive.
Unlike a 5-point spread, mind you.
Yeah. but I only heard Chris's half of the conversation. And Chris's half of the conversation went like this. It went, okay. Right. So
Amen.
why couldn't you write them with AMM?
Yeah.
Okay. So write them with AMM.
Pretty much.
And that was the whole conversation. That was his side of the conversation. And that's the that's the approach that you really should be taking. You should have a carrier that you're planning to write before you even walk into the house.
Mm-hmm. Makes it so much easier, so much simpler, less to think about. I constantly think maybe a little bigger than that. What 3 companies can I give people and nothing more? Like, how simple can I make this and round out every little issue? And it's getting better and better. Like, for a while, the height and weight options were abysmal again. And now there's Ascendo, and then there's the rebirth of American Continental, and there's, options out there. There's, 40 to 89. There's GTL. There's a lot of stuff that you can just keep things super simple. And a lot of these companies you don't hear talked about are terrible. That's why they're not talked about. A lot of companies, for the sake of losing my active contract with them, have no idea what they're doing. They have a product that some actuary came up with on a Saturday. They decided to market it, but they really don't know how to administer the product. Some of the ones that you should lead with know exactly what they're doing. The fraternal you love to write will actually call you when their client called you and figure out how to get the problem fixed.
Yeah.
Write a company that actually cares about you as an agent. Matt, when we did our show in Tennessee, we had a company there, and, like them or not, they actually showed up, and they actually have a genuine interest, give or take, with the agents. There's some really, really large insurance companies that now advertise lions and not Indians that don't know you from Cain and don't care about you, honestly. And your job's really hard. You should write a company that has a little interest in you. The new fraternal that we've been writing, GCU, they're literally figuring this out as they go, but they're like, hey, we haven't quite figured this out yet, but here's a hat to make it up to you. I don't know why you didn't get paid last week, but here's a gift certificate to make up for you. They genuinely are interested in the right things kind of happening. Literally,
they'll listen. The reason I like GCU is they actually listen. If you say like, hey, you need to fix this, they're like, that sounds great. We'll get right on that. And it may take them a while, because when I work for an insurance carrier, it does take a while to make certain changes. A lot of people think that you can just like change an application on paper, and it doesn't happen that way.
It doesn't work that way.
When you do things on paper, it's like really tough. You can make small, minute changes, but a lot of people think you can just like overall just fix everything, but it does take time. But some of these carriers, like Chris is saying, they listen, and those ones, if they listen to you, it's really nice, and you can get a lot of stuff pushed through quicker. When I first went independent, and I don't know if you guys remember, I was writing GPM quite a bit, right? I would upload my applications at like 9:00 every day, and by 10:30 they were approved and I was getting paid, because they knew me so well. And if I had a problem, they'd call me and like, hey, can you fix this? I'd fix it. They would rush my business because they knew who I was. I talked to them every day, and they got used to me. And they were a smaller company, but they still pay me today. They're still awesome. I still love them. I get mailbox money now.
And that's a benefit, right? I write a lot of KSKJ, and when something goes wrong, like I don't even remember what it was anymore, but I had something where I think a client needed to get something overnighted to them right away. And I was able to pick up the phone and call somebody who knew who I was when I said, hey, it's Nick Frumkin calling. They're like, hey, Nick, what can I do for you? And I was like, hey, my client needs, I don't remember what it was, a copy of her policy. I don't know.
Sure.
But she needs it like overnighted. She needs it tomorrow. And they were like, well, we don't normally do that, but for you, yeah, we can do that. And my client had a policy on her doorstep, or whatever it was she needed, the next day. That would not be true if I wasn't putting almost $100,000 of business with them every year.
Mhm.
You know, if I was spreading my business around and, you know, they were getting like $12,000 of business from me a year, and, you know, all these other companies were also all only getting $12,000 worth of business from me a year, none of these companies would care about me or who I was, or they don't care that I've written a ton of business with somebody else,
Mhm.
right? They don't care that I've written $300,000 of business when you add it all together.
Mhm.
They care that $100,000 of that business went to them.
Sure.
And some of these companies don't care no matter what. Like I think
Well, yeah,
KSKJ is genuinely interested because they're not this massive distributor of God knows what. Like some of these companies that the big IMOs push, they
Sure.
don't, there's no room left for a relationship.
Yeah.
And the changes they make are because it's what's best for them. And they just have very little interest in the guy pushing the product.
Some of these companies actively dislike agents. You know, some of these companies actively would cut the agent out of the process if they could.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I'd say most of
Haven't
the
automated that
a
part
lot of
yet,
these
yeah.
companies. But, you know, there's a lot of companies out there that treat the agents as though they are the enemy. You know, I can think of one of the higher commission paying street level contracts with a lot of bonuses and stuff with a really sexy e-app company really, really hates agents and really, really doesn't trust agents and really, really doesn't believe that agents are ever going to do the right thing. And that's not great. The head of a final expense company that is no longer in business once came and talked to my IMO's annual meeting and bragged that he'd put at least 10 agents in jail because, you know, he likes prosecuting agents who commit fraud. He's always looking for agents who are going to commit fraud. I mean, that insurance company is no longer in business, but there's, I mean, those companies like that's real. Like if you can find an agency, not an agency, if you can find a company that as an agent will treat you well,
Mhm.
that all on its own is worth so much.
Mhm.
Realistically, the difference between prices between most companies is not that significant.
Sure.
Somewhat significant. Like some companies are way out of line, but the value to your clients is the same as the value to you if the company is pro agent. Because if they're going to help you, they're going to help your client. It's better for everybody.
Right.
I heard Scott Riddle say once, the godfather of like telesales and such. He's like, you should treat the insurance company like it's your company. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I think he said more about that. But a lot of agents are also more interested in blowing up the carrier with business that may or may not stick, that may or may not get paid at claim time.
Right.
And it affects the overall quality of the company. You know, I used to like the old Transamerica product. And when I would see it clean sheeted, I would be angry because I knew it was messing with the algorithm, like the why this thing existed. And if you don't do it right, it's not going to exist forever.
Yep.
You know, why these carriers imposed 3-month 100% chargeback rules is because they're getting too much bad business and they need to protect themselves.
Yep.
And we have an obligation to treat the company with some decency because they're in it to make money and they won't be in it forever if they don't make any money.
Yep. Yeah. It's again, when I worked at an insurance company, I learned that like even on the preferred prices, and they wanted like obviously all the companies want the preferred, but on the preferred stuff, it like took them 6 or 7 years to be profitable on one client. So they're paying us out in hopes that one, we'll keep that client on the books. And like they have this whole system of like, you know, the longer the policy goes on, the less likely they are to cancel. But on their modified products, it took like 18 years. It was wild. You know what I mean? And people don't think about that stuff. People don't think about that every time that you get appointed, it costs them money to run a background check on you. There's a reason that carriers say no, is because they're running background checks and they're looking at your credit score, and you got a 400 credit score and you want them to pay you out 115% at 75% advance.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you couldn't,
Yeah.
you know, that's essentially they're loaning you money. It's an advance. And a lot of people don't treat treat this business, they get a chargeback email, or they get an email saying the client didn't pay, and they're like, oh, I guess this is it. Well, that's the reason they don't appoint you, is because they know you want to actually track down that business and actually try to save it. You know what I mean? So it's just, all that stuff costs money. It costs them, I think one says like $150 per person that gets appointed. And then you never write the company, or you write them one time, or you get appointed with them because you need to write a 86-year-old that's in the 89-year-old that's in perfect health, and you need to write this one client. And then you think, wait a second, why is my commission not 110% like you told me? Well, it was 110%, but you wrote an 89-year-old.
Right.
You're closer to dead than anything at this point. It's going to be 70%. Sorry. And then guess what? As the company, you're never going to get written again because you gave out that contract for one person. It's just bad business all around. So
what do you think changes next? I mean, last year, end of the year, there was new CSO tables, a bunch of product changes, and then the world ended and was reborn and then ended again. What do you think happens going into next year with the marketplace?
Nick?
I think price increases.
Mm-hmm.
I think price increases are coming. I'm surprised actually that they haven't happened yet. I don't see any way around it right now. Like, get people locked in on good priced carriers while you can, because those carriers are not going to stay good priced for very long. I don't think there's any way. On the good side, I think more companies are going to be putting out e-apps, and you're going to get more instant decision stuff. Instant decision is a double-edged sword. You're going to get stuff that maybe would have gone through in the past that doesn't go through, because you're getting computer algorithms making decisions instead of human beings, and there's no room for interpretation when it's a computer algorithm. They're going to say, it doesn't matter why, if a person's taking furosemide and carvedil all together, they've got CHF. It doesn't matter if what they've really got is, edema in their legs, which is less serious,
Sure.
But I think those are the things that are coming down the pike. We're going to get a lot more instant decisions. And it'll be trade-offs. Stuff's going to be good. Stuff's going to be bad. It would not surprise me if an insurance company or two pulled their final expense product off the market before the end of 2021. I'm not certain that that's going to happen, and I don't even have any particular companies that I'm thinking that it might happen with. But it would not surprise me at all if a couple of final expense products got pulled from the marketplace just because of costs. I know when we were in the height of the coronavirus, shouldn't say the height, let's say the summer of the coronavirus, around May, June of 2020, I had an agency, an insurance company executive, somebody who was really the person in charge of day-to-day operations, tell me that if he had his way, they would just stop selling final expense until coronavirus was done. And that it would be better for the company as a whole if they just stopped selling final expense until COVID was finished and there was a vaccine and there was some time out. So I mean, not to be all super doom and gloom, but I think stuff like that's coming down the pike. Good stuff too, though.
Yeah, I think there's always good stuff. There's always some weird changes, like so-and-so, we're going to close our doors by the start of 2021. Like, you got a month, and then all of a sudden it's like, what in the world's happening, right? Rip Settler's life. Still to this day. But I also think, what do you guys think about the carriers actually like asserting their right to look at the 2-year look back, because a lot of people got stuff pushed through that maybe shouldn't have, and carriers will start to really dig in and maybe go, whoa a second, we shouldn't approve that as level. Ms. Jones, you can have your money back, but we also want our money back from the agent.
I think carriers that start doing that are going to stop getting business from me. I think that's, it screws over the client, because
1000%, because now they're older.
Right. And they're older. It's harder. There is a company that is notorious for doing that.
Yes.
That has done that a lot, and they don't get any business from me. And not on this YouTube channel. I'm happy to tell people not to write business with them, and I don't think anybody should. I think they're a bad company. I think they're one of those companies that's anti-agent.
I'm not sure if they will, but when companies are held by share owners, when they're in the stock market and things are not looking so great, they start thinking of creative ways to increase their profit margin. And that may be things like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't want it to happen. But every carrier has the right to do it. I don't think they should do it, but it's one of those possibilities.
I think we might see some more consolidation since a lot of the distribution has been consolidated, and that the Borg now own most of the insurance distribution, that they can put more pressure on the carriers to get what they want and what they don't want. And it worked well for Ascendo. It's a great product. It's got great comp simply because of who has most of the ownership to it. But it could also be, detrimental that they have most of the distribution and, could shut you out to certain things or pressure carriers to do certain things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like it does work both ways. I'm not crazy about how the distribution channels are all collapsing into each other. I don't think that's good. I don't think it's good that there is one mega NMO that is producing 2/3 of all the life insurance business in the country right now. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's good, because hell, I've got contracts with them. You can't avoid it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's a good thing necessarily to have all that power consolidated in one group who is not necessarily also looking out for agents first. Because at the top level, a lot of these NMOs also don't really care about agents. They kind of look at agents as means to an end for the most part.
What about direct to consumer?
Direct to consumer has always been terrible. Consumers don't understand the product enough.
They don't understand the product enough, but they understand a process, which is, I think it's becoming. So I'll say this: I've done a couple through my CRM that I showed you, Nick. Mm-hmm. I figured out how to essentially get the person to ask all the questions that are on the application, transpose it onto the application, send it out to the client to review, and they actually do the entire application without ever actually talking to me, and it's fine. And the carriers that I talked to, I said, yeah, you did everything right. You're asking everything. They're answering it truthfully. You're putting it on there. You're sending it to them, and they're signing it. It's all legal. And I haven't done much, maybe $20,000-$25,000 worth of it. And that's just me not knowing what I'm doing. I think it's going to become more, and that's not direct to consumer. That's still through me.
Yeah, that's different.
But I think once carriers figure out that is actually possible.
I don't know how much it is though, because you've got these agencies like Root and Ethos Life. Mm-hmm. You've got, on the Medicare side, you've got Walgreens doing it. Mm-hmm. Maybe with Medicare it makes a little bit more sense, but I don't know. I still feel like insurance is life insurance, at least, is a product that needs to be sold. People put it off and put it off and put it off and put it off until they don't have the choice, and then they're out of options. I can tell you, so I do not intentionally sell to any of my friends or family. I don't solicit anybody who's a friend or family. They know what I do for a living. If they want life insurance, they can come and talk to me.
Sure.
I've had 3 people who are friends and family come to talk to me about life insurance in the time that I've been doing this.
And let me ask you this, sorry to cut you off. Do you get upset if you found out that somebody got life insurance via something else versus you?
No, because they're not. Because most of my friends and family are in their 30s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most of the people who would be looking at this are in their 30s, and I have one friend who worked for a tech company, and he sold his profit share, and he's going to be making $500,000 a year for the next decade based on the payout of his profit share. And so he went to a financial advisor, and the financial advisor said, well, you need some life insurance. And he said, okay, I'll go call Nick. But for most people, they're not having that happen. Most people are sitting around going, yeah, I probably should get life insurance.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there wouldn't be that many people. How many people do you talk to every day, Chris, when you're going out in the field who are between 55 and 65 who have told you that they just never had life insurance? Like lots, right?
Yeah. Plenty of people don't.
Yeah. Just never did it.
Yep.
I think that when it comes to direct to consumer, I'm sure that there's going to be some more inroads in it as people get more technology confident as they age into this senior market. Sure. And as, you know, the push is more towards contactless marketing. But in the end, the final expense business has always been there and has never really changed. It's gotten more efficient. You know, 20 years ago, we'd be running a debit and collecting money and selling the same product. Now it's just a little bit more efficient. Yep. So maybe it'll be even more efficient in 15 and 20 years when we're teaching agents to do it. But I just don't think that direct to consumer will take over the marketplace. I don't think telesales will take over the marketplace. I just think the marketplace will always be here in one form or the other. And we have to be willing to stay abreast of the changes of it, but not be worried it's going to change and be gone.
Stick and stay. It's a career. I keep telling, I've talked to a lot of younger people are now getting into the business, the 20 to 30-year-old crowd. And I love it because that's when I got started. But a lot of them are viewing it as a job and not as a career. This is like legitimately a career. It is like once you get your insurance license and you get appointed to sell insurance and you sell, like it is your career. You're now an insurance salesman or woman. And you should take it very seriously. It's not like you don't work for McDonald's. Do you know what I mean? Like you represent and like you hold a license to handle transactions for like multi-billion-dollar companies. And like, that's insane to me that people don't take it as seriously as they should. So a small rant, we'll get off our soapbox, but Nick, I know it's like 11:30 and you got to go.
I do. I have an appointment. It is that time of year. I was able to carve out an hour.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
But I appreciate it. But again, you know, this is if you're just watching this, if you're new to the channel, you're one of our first, you know, the last 100 subscribers that just came in. I know you haven't seen us do anything. You might've been watching some old stuff. And that's why you subscribed, but this is what we do all the time. We just banter and we talk about, and we love final expense or Medicare. It's kind of grown a little bit to Medicare with you, Nick, and Chris.
It's still a final expense channel.
It's a final expense channel. And we're always going to tell you one thing at the end, which is buy leads.
Buy leads.
Buy leads. What are you going to say, Chris? Buy leads?
Absolutely.
Yeah, buy leads. But we will end it. We will end this video, the 1,000 subscriber special Thanksgiving extravaganza, with what Chris is so well known for, which is his outro. So go ahead and give it to us, Chris.
Yeah, just three guys from three separate organizations talking about the same thing, hoping that when you get a chance to hear it, it benefits you. You share it, like it, and subscribe it to other folks. But we don't represent any one organization or one company's opinion. Again, it's just three of us on our own time talking about final expense.
Perfect. Thanks,
awesome.
Guys. Y'all be good.